Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. Awesome show planned for you today. We're going to center the discussion today around Kamala Harris. She's running for president on the Democratic platform. She's virtually unvetted, untested, hasn't been interviewed. She's being installed. She hasn't received a single vote. They ran out Joe Biden, replaced him with Kamala Harris. It's been 2 weeks, a little more than 2 weeks. She hasn't sat down with any reporters. She hasn't answered any questions from the hostile press. The corporate media is lauding all of this as the greatest thing ever. And look at all this momentum. It all feels fake and orchestrated. We're going to have that discussion today with myself, TJ Moe, Shemeka Michelle, and then we're going to transition into a conversation with Anthony Walker, Virgil Walker, Kevin Donahue during Tennessee Harmony, just about female leadership and just, is this biblically sound? How can anybody be on board with any of this? Before I get into it, I do want to remind you all to check out the exclusive extra Fearless content on Blaze TV. Go to blazetv.com/fearless. Use the promo code Fearless, and you can save $20 on your yearly subscription. So we start with Kamala Harris yesterday. News leaking out and Kamala Harris making the official announcement that Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, is the VP pick, is her vice presidential pick. Chose Walz, I guess, over Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. Most people, if you listen to the coverage on Tuesday, like, wow, she went as woke as she could possibly go. Walz is the governor of Minnesota, was the leader of Minnesota during the St. George Floyd riots in Minneapolis. This guy is left of Kamala Harris. Again, this may be the most far left ticket in the history of presidential politics in the United States of America. And all of it, this all is happening so quickly that I don't think anybody has pulled back and said, hey, how did we get here? How did this happen? And I take it back. People are asking the question, but we're not having the conversation of like, how? Kamala Harris went from Willie Brown's plaything to attorney general, some sort of prosecutor in San Francisco or in the Bay Area, to senator, to VP candidate, to vice president VP candidate who thought Joe Biden was racist, to Joe Biden's VP. And then all of a sudden, they put Joe Biden in an early debate, the earliest presidential debate we've ever seen. Before the Democrat convention, they have a debate with Joe Biden and President Trump, former President Trump, President Biden and former President Trump. And that went as bad as anybody with a brain knew it would go for Joe Biden. And the next thing you know, without a vote, without a big discussion at the Democratic convention, Kamala Harris, the lowest rated vice president in the history of the vice presidency, becomes the Democrat nominee. And all the media has spent the past 7, 8, 9, 10, 2 weeks telling us, oh my God, look at the momentum, look at the excitement, look at the money pour in. Everybody's hopping on board with Kamala Harris. And then so late Monday night, it's like, hey, she secured the nomination. This is all going on behind the scenes. She is now the official Democrat nominee for president. This is all late Monday night. And then Tuesday, it leaks out Tuesday morning who her VP running mate is. She makes the announcement in Philadelphia on Wednesday, and voila, we have the microwave presidential nominee, Kamala Harris, and she had the polling and everything is through the roof, and she's a real threat to Donald Trump, and she's leading and she can win. And I'm like, how? How did all this happen? She's clearly being installed, but I don't know to what end. Is she being installed because the left is confident, hey, we can fix this? We got enough mail-in ballots, we got enough illegal immigrants that we can put anybody in the White House? Or is she being used to intentionally throw the election in Trump's favor because we have a cake baked for Donald Trump? Because we have a set of problems or a set of issues that we want Donald Trump in the Oval Office holding the bag for that. Or, and I want to play, I think this is Jamie Raskin talking in an interview about, do we have this clip that I think I asked for it late, where he's talking about, Dems are prepared to block Donald Trump. Let's play that clip. It's SOT number 3.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress, so it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
And so let's dial the clock back to 2021, January 6th. And the instant framing of the events at the Capitol as an insurrection. There were many of us, I'm putting myself in this bag. When they first started throwing out the word insurrection, I'm just sorry, I had to go to the dictionary. I know I'm stupid. I'm Ball State educated. I graduated 2.3 GPA. I had to go, insurrection, what are they talking about? This looked like a riot to me. I was used to a 4-letter word. Hey, this is a little out of control, little riot, R-I-O-T. Very simple word. And I was like, hey, this looks like a riot. But everybody on TV immediately, or in corporate media, went to insurrection. And I was like, insurrection? Do they mean erection? What? I'm not kidding you. I had to go to the dictionary to find out what it was they were talking about that they instantly went to. Everybody looking at, this riot that wasn't much of a riot, but let's call it a riot, went to the word insurrection. I was like, oh, there's a reason for that. They're laying seeds, they're planting seeds, they're laying a foundation for what their plans are down the road. If we can convince you there's an insurrection, we now have a way to stop this man from ever returning as president again. These plans have been in the works from the beginning. They have plan A, they have plan B, they have plan C, they have plan D, they have plan E, F, G, and so on and so forth. And so it's like, hey, let's disqualify him by running up a bunch of felony charges against him. Let's try lawfare. Let's make his life so miserable we can financially bankrupt him. The Letitia James tried to take nearly $1 billion away from him. There's some sort of fine over money that he actually paid back. They're trying to call fraudulent and justify taking hundreds of millions of dollars from Trump. The Alvin Bragg and these drummed up oh my God, he paid off Stormy Daniels, and they've just come up with any and everything. And then they got Fannie Willis, and he told someone, find me some votes, and they got any and everything. So that's, then they go to probably plan B or C. It's like, hey, he's gonna be in Butler, Pennsylvania, and we're gonna put a 20-year-old kid on a roof 150 yards away, and someone's gonna shoot Trump and kill him, and we're gonna blame the kid. But now that they missed and he survived, and if you listen to people, they're saying, well, they got other plans, other assassination plans, and the Secret Service and the gaggle of women the Secret Service employ are all going to protect this president or be there or be witnesses to his assassination. Now they've gone to, hey, let's go back to, remember that plan we concocted on January 6, 2021, insurrection, Section 3, the 14th Amendment, if someone has been, it's in the Constitution, it's in the 14th Amendment, if someone has led an insurrection against the government, they're disqualified from seeking political office. And so that's why they created this myth, this narrative. Oh my God, police officers died. 140 police officers were injured on January 6th. They just like, holy cow. And that's what sent me down all these rabbit holes of like, what else have they lied to us about? They're exaggerating deaths. They're exaggerating injuries. They're making things up. They're calling things an insurrection. And it's like, what is this is what they've done throughout all of history? Should I be skeptical of everything? Has the media always been selling us an exaggerated victimhood narrative, an exaggerated crime narrative to justify the overthrow of a constitutional republic and the Constitution that it was founded upon, and just to make us all better and more debt slaves and more involved in endless wars? But I can't, and this is where I need your help. Email me, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. Hop in the chat, hop in the comments. What's going on here? I don't have it all figured out. I just know I don't trust any of it. This Kamala Harris has got to be the worst presidential candidate we've ever seen. And many of you, Jason, you just don't like her because she's a black woman and you're a coon. Check my receipts. Call me a sexist pig. I'll cop to that. I will cop to that. Because when Sarah Palin showed up on John McCain's ticket, go check what I said about her for 3 or 4 years. I didn't like Hillary Clinton running for president. Go check what I said about her. I don't like Kamala Harris running for president. I'm very consistent on these things. I believe in male leadership. And I certainly have some concerns, disapproval of feminists. And Kamala Harris is a feminist, a hardcore, radical feminist who wants to disrupt the nuclear family and disrupt Western civilization, disrupt a Christian worldview. And I sit here today with this Walz as her VP candidate, Kamala Harris with all these stupid, I just want to play a couple of examples, things you've already seen, but it's just like, this woman is incredibly stupid on tape. It's not a mystery. This is her talking about the iCloud or the information cloud or her explanation. Again, look, it's beyond my explanation, so I wouldn't even try. Why she tried, I don't know, because she's stupid, I guess. Play SOT number 1.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exist above us, right? Mm-hmm. It's no longer in a physical place.
She's been unburdened by what has been taught previously, and good for her. But she's been caught on tape, and I hope the Trump campaign uses this against her, talking about the importance of being woke. Play that clip.
You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah.
Those two women seated surrounding her were so uncomfortable with her giggling, cackling stupidity and her advice to be woke and wokest and woker. We've never seen anything like Kamala Harris. I don't know how we got here. I do know how we got here. We got here because she's a tool in this whole racial conversation and racial divide that they're using to drum up momentum in her campaign, using to divide all of us, to put each other at each other's throats. She's a tool. I would like to see her fail miserably in this campaign, but I'm also concerned, like, is her failure such a foregone conclusion that it's actually a setup and that they want Donald Trump in office so that they can continue to frame him as the modern day Adolf Hitler, so they can then continue to steal rights and demonize a set of American people and set of American values and say the only solution for Adolf Hitler 2.0 and fascism and blah, blah, blah is communism, is Marxism, is actually the real fascism and the real destruction of a traditional American values. That's my concern. We'll talk about it with TJ Moe. We'll talk about it with Shemeka Michelle. And we'll talk about Kamala Harris, the Democrat Party, and just female leadership with Anthony, Virgil, and Kevin Donahue. But before we do that, I want to talk to you guys about our great friends at Patriot Mobile. Americans are tired and frustrated by a stalling economy, inflation, endless wars, and the relentless assault on our values. Thankfully, there's companies like Patriot Mobile that still believe in America and our Constitution. I'm proud to partner with Patriot Mobile because they're on the front lines fighting for the First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and our military first responders. Take a stand for conservative causes and put America first by switching to Patriot Mobile today. You'll get the same nationwide coverage as the big providers because Patriot Mobile operates across all three major networks. Plus, they back their service with a coverage guarantee. Their 100% U.S.-based customer service team will find the best plan for your needs. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Go to patriotmobile.com/Jason or call 972-PATRIOT right now. Get a free month when you use the offer code Jason. Don't get fooled by any other providers pretending to share your values or have the same coverage. They don't and they can't. Join me. Switch to America's only Christian conservative mobile provider, Patriot Mobile. Go to patriotmobile.com/Jason or call 972-PATRIOT for your free month of service today. TJ Moe, next. Welcome back to Beef. As I walk you through my top 50 media beefs of all time. Yeah, I'm an equal opportunity beefer. It's like, Randy, are you asleep at the wheel? Big lips are in style. I'd love to squash this beef. I mean, I was not real happy at all. I was less than thrilled. I was displeased. And now we have beef. Welcome back. Let's roll out to St. Louis, bring in our good friend, TJ Moe. TJ, I'm at a loss. I'm scratching my head to understand what Kamala Harris, what her role is in all of this, what her decision-making says. Yesterday, they roll out Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, as their VP candidate. She's doubling down on leftist beliefs, I guess the same way that Trump doubled down on America First with J.D. Vance. But part of me feels like she's throwing the election, or she's so confident in their ability to cheat, they're so confident in their ability to cheat, that they don't care who's on the ticket. As long as it's a puppet, they're good. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, here's a theory. They may have figured out last election that cheating's actually not that hard, and that if you get a few of these states, and a few have now through their Supreme Courts, allow these drop boxes permanently. I think Wisconsin's one of these states. Pennsylvania may be. A few of those big swing states, you add that in with the actual hatred of Trump from the left, the people that will not swing over no matter what. This may be their opportunity to go as far left as they always want to. And this is interesting. We're seeing a huge dichotomy now between the right and the left. The right has, for 100 years, always gone moderate to some degree, right? It's like, even Trump did with Pence. He was sort of the likable. He wasn't the America First guy. Obviously, these guys are enemies now. And so Trump sort of went with the likable, moderate in the middle, not doubling down on anything. J.D. Vance is the double down. Trump is stating, we are who we are. We're America First. And I don't need help. I don't need to grab somebody from Virginia in Glenn Youngkin or, any of the swing states. Could have grabbed somebody from Wisconsin if he wanted to. Any state that he needed. He chose not to do that. Ohio is clearly red at this point, and so he chose not to do that. Kamala has just done the same thing. And so Kamala has said, look, you could have picked Josh Shapiro from the swing state in Pennsylvania that you absolutely need to win this election. And instead, she rejected that guy in favor of Minnesota. When was the last time Minnesota went red? Minnesota's not a swing state. They are a deep blue state. And so both sides are dug in right now. They're seriously dug in. What the left has done, if you go back to 2016, they have rigged their own primaries in favor of more moderate opponents. Bernie Sanders would have beaten Hillary Clinton if the DNC had not rigged it in Hillary's favor. They partnered with her and fundraised with her during the 2016 election, or they would have gone way left of Hillary. That is what their base has wanted to do for a while. 2020, Bernie wins again if the DNC and everybody else doesn't consolidate to get behind Biden, who's practically dead, but he's seen as the more moderate guy. So I think there's a chance here. They figured out how to cheat, and they figured out that there is so much Trump hatred by the left, people will actually buy their cheating, and they can go as far left as they've always wanted to go, and people will go along with it because, hey, Trump's a fascist, he's a dictator, we can just go and be San Francisco lefties.
In order for that to be true, which I'm not saying it's untrue, it means that you and I, or just put myself, I live in such an echo chamber that I just don't run into enough people that are that deranged. I do run into people that are that deranged that, it's just anybody but Trump, and they're all on board with Kamala Harris. Many of the people, they're in my family. I do, but I just tend to think that things have gone so far that the whole Never Trump movement just doesn't have the same momentum as it used to have, and that most people that are doing it, the comedians, the celebrities, that's all just a fake. None of them really believe it. I'm moving, I'm leaving the country if Trump gets in office, but it's all cosplay. But maybe there are real people out there and in great numbers who believe that or think that.
Maybe, but remember, the secret weapon of the left is the media. So it doesn't matter if those people exist. It matters if people believe they exist. And that's how you sell your cheating. There were so many people that hate Donald Trump. And look, the media told us and amplified every single story. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. And by the way, the media is powerful enough to take Kamala Harris from being the least popular vice president of all time, according to approval ratings, since they started this. I think Gallup, since they started it, the least popular ever, to, in many polls today, beating Donald Trump. That is just the media and they're doing. You could say the polls are rigged. I have no idea if they're rigged or not. I do know that there's never been more glowing coverage of a candidate who did not win anything or earn anything, has been gifted a position, and suddenly she's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So the media is very powerful, and the left is counting on that. So it truly doesn't matter if these people exist at all. It just matters that you think they might.
That is accurate. And this coverage is Barack Obama-esque in terms of fawning and pandering and, I don't want to be called racist, so don't let me say one coarse word. And then the whole thing that, I mentioned it yesterday. I didn't connect it to politics, but I think I've mentioned it on the show before. The media works in conjunction in so many different ways. And the way the sports world sells history. Oh, an all black podium. And this is progress. And this is a great thing. People are so caught up in making history and breaking a glass ceiling or whatever, that they just see that as, okay, maybe she's an idiot, maybe we'll adopt full-blown communism, but at least we broke the glass ceiling, and next time, there'll be a woman and she can correct the mistakes of Kamala, but it's more important to break the glass ceiling than to implement policies that make sense for America, because breaking the glass ceiling is a way of improving the future of a feminist or women's future, their daughter's future, because now we can be president. And that's why I can't wait to talk to Anthony and Virgil and Kevin. It's just like everybody is so into this glass ceiling thing that the results and the ramifications just don't matter.
Yeah, and what we figured out is there's actually an infinite number of glass ceilings, because once you break into that, well, now that we've had a black woman on the podium, look, now we have an all-black podium. And now that we have a black woman in the presidency, look, she has an all-black cabinet, and we have an all-black everything. And that is, for many of these people, that is their calling card, all-black everything. And so you're exactly right. And again, I do think this election could be different if it's actually fair, and we'll find out, because things were going really poorly for George W. Bush, at the crash, and it was a bad time during that election. Obama came in, hey, stuff's bad anyway, let's give this black dude a chance. Stuff's really bad right now under the other regime. So do you really want to? I mean, look, unemployment was at 4.3%. That's a several-year high at this point. The stock market, because of this Japanese yen trade carry, whatever you call it, the stock market is up and down with 1,000-point swings. I mean, it is a tough time. If you go out there, my wife is in IT recruiting, and the amount of people looking for a job right now, and there are just no jobs open. It is a tough time. So are people going to go with, all new everything, all black everything, come on, let's break the glass ceiling? Or are they going to say, I'm broke, let's go with the guy who I had some money when he was president?
Great question. Thank you, TJ. We'll explore a little deeper or a little further with Shemeka Michelle. Before I do that, guys, I want to talk to you about LAASY Health. Americans are hurting. Healthcare costs are out of control, and we know insurance companies don't have the answer. But now LAASY Health is here to shake things up. LAASY Health isn't health insurance. It's access to the healthcare you want without all the red tape, restrictions, and inflated costs. Coverage starts at just $30 a month. You get transparent pricing, comprehensive coverage tailored to your needs, and access to healthcare services without breaking the bank. There are no annual or lifetime caps on services, and you can start a plan anytime. For only $30 a month, you get over 400 prescription medications for free. Free, unlimited, virtual mental health counseling free 24/7 virtual urgent care, lab tests up to 60% off, imaging tests up to 75% off, and over 50% off procedures and surgeries. You can even get plans with vision, dental, primary care, and comprehensive health share coverage. People are saving thousands on everything from MRI scans to ER visits, hospitalizations, and more. And here's the bonus. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes aren't considered pre-existing conditions as long as you haven't been hospitalized in the last 12 months before you enroll. LAASY Health is a game changer. Check out affordable plans that put you in control of your health care at healthylink.com/fearless. For a limited time, get your first month free. That's up to $100 off eligible plans. So get healthy, be healthy, and stay healthy without breaking the bank at healthylink.com/fearless. Look for LAASY Health. That's LAASY. Shemeka Michelle, next.
Stephen A. Smith, are ghosts real in your opinion, or is it nonsense? I never think about it. I know that there's certain things that are spooky. You know, you look at a house that looks haunted and stuff like that, spooky.
Oh, scary. Oh, shiver my timbers. Shut up, man.
You just hear that sound. Oh, it's it.
Why are you the way that you are?
That Friday the 13th kind of sound. When you hear Jason creeping up on you or something like that.
Stephen A. is a myth. Stephen A. is a plant.
Who you gonna call?
Welcome back. Time for some Shemoke Show. Shemeka Michelle joining me. Shemeka, we've been talking about Kamala Harris, and her campaign seems to be, hey, I'm a black woman, and I've faced all this oppression, and I'm the new Barack Obama. I don't need to be interviewed. I don't need to engage with reporters. I don't need to be questioned at all. I don't even need to collect any votes. I represent the breaking of a glass ceiling. Make me president. Is that going to be good enough to get her into the office?
Jason, unfortunately, it does seem like it's good enough to get her into office, especially with Black people. And I do think, as you were stating earlier, that it's by design. I don't know if they want Donald Trump in or if they're rigging the election to get her in and think if we push this idea that she's so popular, no one will ask questions. But I definitely think it's by design. When you look at what we've done with women over just the last few years, with the Me Too movement and Believe All Women and Time's Up, we've pretty much trained people not to question women at all. And we know that this is definitely true when it comes to Black women. I just saw Simone Biles post, when you want to criticize a Black woman, don't. And we've said, if you want to ask a Black woman a question, don't. So we've made it so that you can't even ask a Black woman anything or criticize her. And so that's why no one has this expectation that she has to come out here and say, this is what I believe. This is what my policies are, because you can't question Black women. And we've been saying that on this show for a few years now, that Black women are above criticism or reproach. So we've pushed this out. And so I'm not surprised that people aren't questioning her. And I'm not surprised that she feels like she doesn't have to be questioned. What really pisses me off, though, are the amount of Black people who just a month ago were complaining that gas was too high. They were complaining that groceries are too high. And they were saying, oh, Joe, what are you going to do about the economy? Yet these same people have allowed the Democrats to switch the face, but not tell you anything different when it comes to policy. And now all of a sudden it's okay. Well, this is the same administration. These are the same policies, which means we're going to get more of the same, if not worse. And so that's what really has me upset, because they know how ignorant Black people can be, just clueless and emotional. It's almost like they feel like we are a bunch of dancing monkeys, and all you have to do is dangle a banana in our face to distract us, because that's what they've done. They've taken this Black woman and dangled her in our faces, and so many Black people are now distracted when a month ago they knew they were living paycheck to paycheck.
It's interesting what you say and where it leads me about the banana, or you remember Beverly Hills Cop, the banana in the tailpipe, and it was like, hey, look over here, so you're ignoring what's in the tailpipe. And I look at the way they've taken her racial identity and used this as a talking point. It's all just a distraction. And someone pointed out, it may have been Dr. Boyce Watkins, but someone pointed out, I was like, hey, Trump went to NABJ, and they could have asked this man, like, hey, in 2020, you were negotiating with Ice Cube the Platinum Plan, this thing that you were going to do for Black America. Is there a Platinum Plan 2.0? But instead, they ask him, hey, you said this about Black women, you said this about Kamala Harris's identity, or, you've questioned her identity. But they ask a bunch of silly questions, and then the next thing you know, George Stephanopoulos got Byron Donalds on national TV asking about Kamala Harris's race. And it's such an unimportant conversation. And so Donald Trump meets with the NABJ. They don't ask him a legitimate question. Kamala Harris won't meet with the NABJ or any media to get asked a specific question. And somehow we spent all this time talking about whether she's Black or Indian, and whether or not, going to Howard, being an AKA, does that make her Black? We're talking about silly stuff. I want to play the clip, and most people saw it. It's several days old. It was Sunday, but here's George Stephanopoulos and Byron Donalds going back and forth over Kamala's race.
AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being Black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on repeating
I'm not the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's you.
You've done it.
I understand why.
Sir, you've done it. You've done it 3 times. Every single answer you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
You asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country, because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the fact that you continue to repeat the slur. I don't understand why you and the president do it, but it's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong.
So repeating the AP headline is a slur, but I'm telling you, this isn't just distraction. It's very strategic, and it's because we've been programmed. Let's make history. Let's be a part of history. And so it's such delicious bait. And it's not just for black people. It's for feminists. It's for liberals. They all want to make history. If we can just do something different, do something historic, the policies don't matter. It's progress. We broke a glass ceiling. I think it's a winning message for people that don't really care or just think policy doesn't matter.
You know, it's funny that George Stephanopoulos kept saying, it's a slur, it's a slur. But Don Lemon said the same thing a couple years ago, and no one attacked Don Lemon or said it was a slur. And that just goes back to how they change language and they make things up. This is not a slur. And if we go back to the journalist conference, they asked Donald Trump a question, and he pretty much just said what everybody was thinking, like, oh, okay, so she's black. You know, do I think that this is a big issue that we should harp on? I don't. I do think that we should focus on the policies because that is what matters. But I do think, you know, Donald Trump is saying what a lot of people, you know, what we're thinking. She leans into the black when it's convenient for her. And I truly believe that. All of the dancing, the hip hop at the White House for the 50th anniversary, I cook collard greens and I had to cook so many one Thanksgiving. I had to wash them in the tub. First of all, you ain't washed no collard greens in the tub. And if you did, anybody that ate them need to come back and have some words with you because that's disgusting. But, you know, she leans into it just as, you know, she did when she was in Atlanta, presenting this Southern accent or acting as if she's so down, just like the BET Awards with the I'm in these streets. No, you are not. Just be authentically who you are. I'm not saying that you're not black or you have to act a certain way, but you're saying you have to act a certain way when you start to say things like, I'm in these streets, and you know you ain't in these streets. Stop it. Just be who you are. And if that is a mixed race woman, I'm fine with that. But stop pretending and stop cosplaying. And that is what really bothers me about her. And so for me, I think that's what Trump was saying. And I think that's what so many people are saying. Like, just stop with the whole, you know, going ultra black because it's not believable. It's not working. And you did not lean into that when it didn't benefit you. You know, I had a relative who moved up north. He was so light that he pretended to be a white man. He was black. There's, you know, nobody could change that fact about him, but he definitely didn't lean into it. He leaned into being white because it benefited him.
I think you're being a bit unfair to Kamala. She was misquoted or misunderstood. She said, I'm in these sheets. And you heard it as streets, but so I actually think she was being factual. Thank you, Shemeka. Before you get me down, take me down a path that'll get me in trouble. Thank you. We got to move on. We're going to bring in some Tennessee Harmony, Anthony, Virgil, and Kevin Donahue, and we'll talk about, like, what's the Bible say about just male leadership, and we'll play a clip from a minister that. Black minister that went off in the pulpit about why he can't support the Democrat Party over LGBTQ issues. But we'll discuss that. But I'm also just female leader? That's my issue. Call me a sexist pig. But again, I wasn't on board with Sarah Palin, wasn't on board with Hillary Clinton, and I ain't on board with Kamala Harris. It is what it is. Next. Steve, I just want to say on behalf of Shakur Stevenson and his family, stop Asian hate.
It has come to my attention that there is a Chinese among us. Rest assured, he will be found.
That's what I think this is all about. So let's stop Asian hate.
We're on your side. I hate Godzilla. I hate him too. I hate him. He destroys cities.
But can't we all just get along?
Here's the thing. The last family that came after me was Ryan Garcia. Well, how'd that work out? Who's the piece of shh now?
How you like me now?
All right, welcome back. Let's continue the conversation about Kamala Harris, but from a more biblical perspective. Anthony, Virgil, Kevin here with us for some Tennessee Harmony. Anthony, if you could bless us in prayer.
Father God, we thank you for today. We thank you for all the blessings you've bestowed upon us. Help us, Father, to be men after your own heart, great leaders, husbands, fathers that lead to better communities. We're thankful in Jesus' name. Amen.
Virgil, we'll start with you. I have a simple question. We'll play the clip eventually of the minister, and I'm not even sure, I think the minister's from Memphis. Yeah, because Vince Everett Ellison reached out to me. He's friends with this pastor, and he's from Memphis. We'll play the clip of the minister here in a second, but I just want to start from just a fundamental aspect as Christians and as believers in male leadership. Does that extend beyond the church into the political sphere? As Christians, should we also believe in male authority, male leadership, and how we evaluate political candidates?
Yeah, I think the Bible kind of lays out the role of men and women according to Scripture. I know that in the current culture we live in, people don't like the idea of roles for men and roles for women. But biblically speaking, we do have that. You know, we have the fact that a man has a responsibility first to honor God, and then if he chooses a wife, to love her, to wash her with the water of the word, and all that means is to nurture that relationship so that he points her toward God. Finally, if outside of the home, he has a responsibility to provide, to protect, to provide provision for the family. And so I even add to that, he has a prophetic role, one that speaks truth to power, one that's clear about truth. He leads in his community. He leads at church. He grows in the things of God at church through discipleship. And ultimately, if he seeks or desires a role as an elder, there's an opportunity for leadership there. There is a role for women. That is to honor God. And then finally, as a wife and a mother, those are her primary roles. And so what she does with that may open the door for her to perhaps go to work and provide additional help or assistance, but that is not her primary role. Her primary role is to nurture the relationship with her and her husband as she honors God, as she submits to her husband and walks in ways that continue to honor God and that fellowship.
Anthony, you got anything to chime in there? Or?
I agree with him. Their primary role, as he's laid it out, he's very clear about it. From a biblical dynamic, if we're looking at, is there any verse or teaching that precludes a woman from being in a leadership role in the public sphere? You have examples, mostly in the Old Testament. You've got Deborah, she was a judge. So she's in a, leadership role in that context. But then you also have Jezebel. Here's another woman who's in a leadership capacity who, just completely wreaks havoc. So, there will be instances of that, but the main thing is understanding, especially when you're in Christ, your role as man and woman and in the kingdom, how we're supposed to function. And that goes beyond the doors of our home. It goes everywhere we go.
I'm a merit guy. Whoever's best for the position, whether it's politics, whether it's the CEO, no matter what it is, let the person who's best take that role. I agree with what these gentlemen just said as far as the biblical role of women. And we just have two different perspectives of the world. Our job as men is to provide and protect. We desire control, and women, walk through the world afraid more often than not. So, but yeah, you know, for me, it comes down to, I have friends who are lawyers, successful entrepreneurs, authors. So yeah, you know, it depends on the context, but as far as the biblical context goes, I can lean on these guys for that.
For me, I don't know how many of you all watched last Friday when I had my sister and brother and Dante on the show, but take my sister truly is one of the smartest people and inspiring people that I know. Significant role in my life. But our worldviews and instincts are completely different. And it was just like, I could have predicted, I didn't know what she was going to say, but I could have predicted when she started talking about happiness. It was instant, like, and just as a woman and as someone that's a career executive and a leader in the corporate space, it didn't surprise me that she, to some degree, thinks that life revolves around happiness and the pursuit of happiness. And where my instincts are like, nah, it's about service, it's about obedience, it's about specific things we're set here temporarily to accomplish. And a lot of times, and maybe most of the time, happiness has virtually nothing to do with it. Happiness is very fleeting. It's a very fleeting emotion. And I crack some jokes about this over social media, and I don't want to be blue or, you know, inappropriate. But again, it's as simple as like happiness, a happy ending is a brief feeling that puts man to sleep and makes him make bad decisions. And that's just real. And that's why we have to be about something more than just happiness, because if we're just running around doing things to make us happy, that's how you end up at a McDonald's drive-through twice in a day. Or, you know, you just make a series of bad. And so when I heard my sister say that, didn't surprise me. But I think a lot of American society, global society, and just the push of the feminist movement has reduced life to the pursuit of happiness. And that's not how we got here. The sacrifices that men made, was Jesus's life? Was that about him just trying to be happy? Or was it more significant than that?
It was not. And there's a term that the Hebrew writer uses in relation to Jesus' sacrifice. He says, when Christ approached the cross, the text says, but for the joy of the cross, not happiness, but joy. What he was doing, he knew was going to result in the saving of so many others. So that's the joy. But nobody going to the cross is feeling a sense of happiness. Even Christ is praying like, man, if there's a way that we can, forego this cup, but he knew that that's what he had to do. So you're right in terms of our worldview, our perspective on sacrifice, on happiness. But I always like to raise the bar as it relates to any leadership position, how God looks at it. He measures the heart. And he also requires you to be a godly leader. So, one instance I'll give you real quickly. In Acts chapter 6, the church was in its infancy, growing, multiplying, and there were some widows that were being overlooked in the food distribution. And so a complaint arose, and the apostles came together and they said, okay, we need to find 7 men to put over this business. Now that would sound good to just stop right there. Let's get 7 men to do this. But he continued by saying these men needed to be wise, of good reputation, and full of the Holy Spirit. That was the criteria that was needed just for you to pass out plates. So when I look at what God looks at as it relates to a leader, he does prefer. You see it in his commandments about male leadership. That's there. But not just because you have the right plumbing, also because you have the right heart. If your heart is not turned towards God, any leader in that position is going to mess up things.
Virgil, hop back in.
No, I completely agree. I want to go back to something you said earlier about the pursuit of happiness. I think feminism has been a big part of why everyone is in pursuit of happiness, particularly women. And they've bought this idea that happiness for them would be in competing with men in the workplace. Happiness for them would be getting into the CEO suites. Happiness for them, and ultimately what it lands, where it ends up resulting is that happiness for them is being everything but what God ordained them to be as women. And so they're exchanging the beauty of femininity, the beauty of submission, the beauty of the strength that they have in their God-ordained makeup for achieving what they believe that they deserve, which is some form of happiness. You have Kamala Harris, to be direct about the question that you asked earlier. She should not be running for president of the United States. She could do something else, but from a standpoint of leading the country, I don't believe any woman should be in that role or that position, but specifically her. And here's the other thing, and the caveat I'd add to that, and I'll stop here, is simply to say, I wouldn't vote for her, not simply because she's a woman. I wouldn't vote for her because, of a whole host of other reasons that have everything to do with policy. So that speaks to kind of the merit issue that Kevin raised. But again, a woman's place is not as a leader of the free world. She should not be doing that. I believe it's a judgment of God were she to get in office. And there's a real problem with men who are promoting the idea that that's a role that she needs to hold.
Yeah, to take that a little further, the happiness thing, Virgil said something earlier about submitting to your husband. There's this myth that's been created in our culture that we live in, and it's not just America, it's Western culture in general, and it's called independence, right? The epitome of success for women in our culture is to be independent. Well, the fact is that's a myth. It doesn't exist. I mean, how many people does it take to be on the show? To produce the show, to get a cup of coffee from Starbucks in the morning? That's hundreds of thousands of people in cooperation all over the world to get a cup of coffee in the morning, right? When we realize that we're all not only interdependent, but dependent on each other, right? Then you start to realize, like, wow, what is my role and who do I need in my life to depend on, to submit to? And we as men are to submit to Christ. We're to submit to our brothers and sisters in Christ. We're to submit to our bosses. We're to submit to our authority. So I think this is part of it. So I think women in Western culture have been led astray by not just happiness, but by this pursuit of being independent. And what happens is, and I've seen this over and over again, women at 35-ish, around that age, they have the house, the car, the career, the status, everything that our culture has taught them will make them successful. And they're missing the one thing they've always wanted. And that's a man to take care of them. And they're not even allowed to say it in our culture, right? They can't even admit, man, I really want a man to take care of me. So we're at this conundrum, I think, where masculinity and femininity, what's happened is in our culture is femininity is disguised as, well, it's masquerading as masculine. And so this whole idea of being independent will make you happy. It really is a disaster.
Kevin, I thought of you yesterday because of a reference you made, I think, last week. Monday, I was talking about the boxer over in the Olympics, the male boxer, the XY boxer, and I ended up going down a path of examining the pursuit of happiness. And one of the things I referenced yesterday was that Thomas Jefferson's writing of the pursuit of happiness into the Declaration of Independence was actually inspired by John Locke and a different understanding of happiness and the pursuit of happiness at that time. And that John Locke, his understanding of happiness was inspired by Aristotle, who you referenced last week. Were you aware of that? Just like that in that time, the pursuit of happiness meant something different, and that it was inspired by Aristotle, and that inspired Locke, which inspired Thomas Jefferson. Were you aware of any of that?
Well, our culture is highly inspired by Greek culture and Roman culture. I mean, our laws, we're a Greco-Roman rule of law we have. And so the founding fathers studied deeply the deep thinkers of Aristotle, Plato, Seneca, all of these thinkers. And it's what makes our country so great, because philosophy is the pursuit of truth. Right? So the pursuit of truth, which can create happiness. And so that's the ultimate goal in philosophy. So yeah, I'm very aware of like that the Greco-Roman rule of law and the Greek philosophers have had a huge impact on our culture.
So let me play the clip of the Memphis preacher, and obviously I enjoyed what he said, but I also had questions even for myself, like, is this right for a Sunday? Is it right for a pulpit? It certainly felt good for me watching it online, but I'm gonna play the clip and we'll get some expert opinion. Let's play the preacher.
I can't vote for a party that is for all kind of sexual perversions. I can't do it. I can't vote for a party that's going to accept transgenders going into women's restrooms. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't go with a party that wants to cut little girls' breasts off to make them boys. I can't go with a party that says you can be a boy today and a girl tomorrow. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to remove God from its party platform. You in trouble when the nation forgets God. I can't follow a party that wants to sexualize our children in school, put drag queens in front of them, reading them little children's stories. I can't do it. I can't support a party that wants to take the rights of parents away. In California right now, parents are being arrested because they won't go along with the sexualization of their children. But there are many parents that are compromising. Y'all got to make a decision. It's either God or the devil.
His position summarizes my position in terms of it's the personalities, the individuals, the props that the political parties use to be the faces of their platform. Pretty irrelevant to me. And again, I've stayed out of politics and never voted, considering getting into politics because I've landed where this guy is. It's just like, well, hold on, man. This thing with kids and the whole sexualization thing, it's just a bridge too far for me. It's going to activate me. And one side, I'm not even a saint. It's not just about kids. I'll just I sit around and say, I'm 57, and the values and my view of manhood and male leadership and how things should, it's all been blown up. And I sit there and go, how did we get here? And I look at one party that's pushing the feminism and the LGBTQIA plus silent P deal. And one group seems more passionate about it than the other. And that's the breaking point for me to where I'm strongly considering hopping into a voting booth. And I know that'll disappoint people that I'm just only considering it. But it's tough for me because I just never saw myself as a voter. But I'm right there with this minister. Anthony, I'll start with you because you have a church, then Virgil, you chime in. Is that sermon, is that appropriate for Sunday pulpit?
I'd want to see the whole message. I hope that wasn't the entirety of the message. I'd want to see maybe this is a side rant that he goes on and gives his perspective. I think he does kind of walk a line in terms of we don't see him say, hey, vote for this particular. He was just expressing, hey, I can't vote for this. When you ask that question, how do we get here? The answer can really determine what your next steps are going to be as it relates to the solution. If you view how we got here as a series of incorrect votes or incorrect party alignment, then your solution is going to be, well, we need to vote correctly and align ourselves correctly. If you see the problem as a spiritual one, in which we have aligned ourselves with an alternate system to transform the world rather than God's mandate to transform the world. Then we're going to be, so that's where I tend to lend. And whenever I'm preaching to the congregants, I usually end on a note. If I ever delve into a political point, I'm always on the political point of, I exist in this nation that does have a political system, but I am a son of the King. And so because I am, honoring the King, my main focus is on him. He can't be voted in or out. His ways are always right. There is no swaying him to the populist. That's who I follow. And I instruct, our congregants, hey, pray, then vote. But then after you vote, you need to pray. Because even after the results, we still have the mandate from the King to seek and save that which is lost.
Virgil, what do you think about the guy?
Man, well, first of all, I thought Anthony did a fantastic job of summing up everything that he laid out there. And then secondarily, the guy that spoke, I really, I'm with Anthony. I would want to know what the text was he was preaching from and where he was going, and whether, because I want to have equal weights and measures. If we saw someone do that and it was they were amplifying a Democratic point, a Democratic talking point, we would have a lot to say about this. This favors a Republican point of view, and so I'd want to have the same weight and measure and balance to say, what was the text? Did he abuse the text? Did he rightly divide the text? Is he pointing people back to Christ? Is he pointing people back to the message of the gospel as the solution, rather than, to the point Anthony made, rather than politics being the only answer that fixes the issues of our day? I think that's where most preachers fall short. The idea of, well, we voted wrongly, so now if we vote this way, it's going to fix it. What we need to recognize is that all of it's corrupt, all of it's bankrupt, and we need to point people back to Christ. And as we serve Christ, we'll make correct policy decisions. We'll identify right laws to put in place. We'll identify the right things to point to along the way.
Yeah, that's well said. Both you guys, well said. I come from Washington, D.C. I've seen how the sausage is made. I've worked with the White House, both parties, Democrat, Republican. I see the Democrats lead the charge on some of this nonsense, but the Republicans bring up the rear. Trump was on stage with the LGBTQ flag, so take your pick. It's an emotional game, but once you see how the sausage is made, once you're inside of DC, you kind of exit stage left. So you have red and blue, but I think it's a time we move to sackcloth and ashes, perhaps, right? Like the people of Nineveh. We just have to go back to God, but go back to Christ, go back to what the founding fathers said, and go back to those principles, because the political system we're in right now is, it's a soap opera. And so they propped up this Kamala Harris right now, and they had Joe Biden propped up. It's just a bunch of characters that kind of they fill in for, next week as the world turns. So, I like what the preacher said, the segment we did see, and I'm sure he brought it back to Christ. I don't know, but, I don't mind. Whatever you got to get off your plate to bring people back to Christ, do it.
Listening to this, blame Anthony and Kevin in particular, and Virgil a little bit, if I don't vote. Because I just go back to what I always say. There are no political solutions for spiritual problems. And I feel like that if I clean myself up and then you clean yourself up, we'll get politicians just like, well, hey, man, how do I inspire Jason Whitlock or Kevin Donahue or Anthony to vote for me? Rather than, I think politicians are looking out and they're saying, how do I inspire these sexually corrupt, sexually immoral, people looking to cut corners? How do I inspire the corrupt to support me? That's what all politicians are doing. I look at it, you can say, Megan Thee Stallion with Kamala Harris, Amber Rose with the Republican National Convention, and Donald Trump. It's just whores. And again, they're basically saying, you guys like whores, we got them. And some of us have to raise our hands and say, yes, we do, and I repent, and I'm moving away from that. And then they'll start saying, Jason likes righteousness. Let me put some righteousness on stage and attack him that way and bait him that way. But too many of us, and many of us that sit in church, claim to be Christians, all of that, they actually know. Because again, they're reading our laptops, they're reading our text messages. They know what we really think and believe and what really entices us. And so that's why I just keep working on my spiritual self. Again, I'm not suggesting that, or I'm telling you where I'm leaning, and you know how I feel, which side I think is more responsible. But I think I'm most responsible, and that's why I'm working on the cleanup of me. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll cue up some harmony. Thank you, guys. I'm not even going to crack a joke on Virgil this week. That's how good I feel about this segment. That means Kevin and Anthony did such a great job. You carried Virgil, and so I don't have to say anything. But anyway, cue up harmony, and we'll see you next time.
Up so divided, stop fighting and stand tall. We used to be a nation, one united. Now we're headed for downfall. God, let your light shine down. What we need more than anything now, harmony. Let's make a simple vow. Let's come together now. Harmony. Put all your weapons down. Love one another now. Time for us to wake up. Choose love, my sister, my brother. See through the lies they tell us. 'Cause together we're so much stronger. God, let your light shine down. What we need more than anything now. Harmony. Let's make a simple vow. Let's come together now. Harmony. Put all your weapons down. Love one another now. Fear is the enemy. Won't let it get to me.